This is a racing product I didn't have high expectations for from the start. I've tried Liling's Boom Foam and Super Boom Foam before, and my gut reaction was that this Super Boom capsule was probably just another case of same old tech, new name. But now, I feel like it's kind of a dream shoe for me, exactly the kind of experience I'm looking for in a racing shoe. If I can use my limited English, my limited vocabulary for describing ride feeling to clearly explain this red Super Boom capsule, I think that's not only what some of you guys most want to know, but also a review of how I've been practicing English by reviewing running shoes for the past year. Okay, let's talk about the 6th generation of Fading Elite today. I started this channel to review Chinese running products. More importantly, it's my way of forcing myself to practice spoken English. I'm self-sponsored and money doesn't grow on trees. Whether good or bad, I'm going to give you my honest review without filtering. Let's dive in from the specs. Liling doesn't list the stack height on their product page. Underfoot, it feels almost identical to the Adios Pro 4. Same stack, same drop. So I'm guessing it's about 39mm in the heel and 33mm in the forefoot, giving us a 6mm drop. In this shoe, we have 3 components. First is this red Super Boom capsule, and the second is the Super Boom Foam in silver, with a regular shaped carbon plate in between. Technically, that Super Boom capsule is still Super Boom Foam. It's made from French Arkema Pebax raw material with a 95% energy return rate. But Liling did some innovation on this foam, which you can see as a bit reflective sheen. They coated the whole foam piece multiple times with a special elastomer-based composite paint, totally sealing it. I found a clip on social media that shows the full wrap more clearly. Gotta say, on social media, you might have seen people call this wrapping the foam with a film. That's not entirely accurate. The repeated spring ends up forming a film on the foam surface, but it's not simply wrapping it with some pre-made film, like cling wrap or a car paint protection film. It's built up layer by layer through the repeated spring, which makes the coating more durable. I confirmed this with a colleague who specialized in this field and showed me some chemical formulas for the composite paint that I couldn't even begin to read. So why did Liling go through all this trouble? The trend with the super foams is pushing densities lower and lower to make the shoes lighter. And whether nitrogen or carbon dioxide is injected during the foaming process, the goal is always the same: create very fine gas cells in the midsole for higher energy return. But there are 2 downsides never go away. 1. Low density makes the foam too soft, so the responsiveness isn't that quick. And 2. With lower densities, durability decreases, meaning the foam degrades fast. With Super Boom capsule, Liling creates an elastic film on the foam surface. It's kinda like a trampoline effect. Providing a pulling tension force, it prevents the foam from overcompressing and helps it recover faster from decompression. And in theory, the film also helps lock air inside the gas cells, creating a ride feeling somewhat similar to Nike Air. That's what Liling has done with the Super Boom capsule. I will dive deeper into the actual ride feel later. My size 45 weighs 226 grams, which is a very competitive weight in the race category compared to the Saucony Endorphin Elite 2 and Adidas Adios Pro 4, which were my favorite big brand racing product over the past year. After the basics, let's take a look at the details. If you have the Feidian 5 Elite, for the upper, you just need to look at your 5 Elite. Not much changed. A TPU pressed mesh with a booty style knit tongue. You got a lot of forefoot volume and also got a good midfoot lockdown. There is a small emblem on the tongue, the 龙雀, which in English means dragon sparrow or dragonfish. It's a mystical creature in Chinese art and culture, symbolizing a guardian of the wind. Guys who follow my Instagram have already seen this shoe's upper under UV light. That Chinese text glowing there translates to once airborne, never lands. That's 龙雀's spirit. Moving to the outsole. You've got a decent amount of CPU rubber protecting the foam. In terms of grip, you know, I've been running in dry conditions recently. For my runs, it's been absolutely fine. The tread details are still holding up pretty well, which is quite good for a racing product. With that out of the way, let's talk about the pros and cons of actually running in it. If you jump straight here, I strongly suggest going back to watch the specs chapter, where I explain the red capsule. Otherwise, you might just think the guy talking today has lost his mind. This shoe is extremely fun to run in. It is an unbelievable ride. It's so soft, so bouncy, propulsive. There is a lot of great compression to the foam. I really like that. I really enjoy foams that feel dynamic and move a lot under load. As a midfoot striker, it really does create that real sinking feeling and then a huge amount of bounce back. The whole midsole feels very rounded, almost like you are standing on an underinflated ball. You can kind of feel like air currents moving within the foam, especially when you are just standing still. When I lift my toes, I feel like the air in the red capsule gets squeezed into the remaining parts, making the foam expand, like something slightly swelling under my forefoot. As I start to pick up the pace, even up to threshold level, I still feel that the foam expands. Then pushing off, I've got this nice big extra flare of foam under the ball of my forefoot, and that bounces me back up. That high energy return made hard paces feel more effortless for me. But for a race shoe, I also really need the decompression or the response time, the responsiveness of that foam to be quick. This is the most impressive part of this Super BOOM capsule for me. It's really snappy. The decompression is much faster and much more significant. So it doesn't feel like the shoe's getting mushy or that I'm getting stuck during ground contact. The carbon plate here, I really didn't notice the plate that much. It's gonna be a stabilizing element to keep the very squishy material from getting too squirrely. I've also done a bit of heel striking in this shoe just to feel how stable or unstable it might be. It's runnable. It looks like with this really soft foam in the back, it would be very unstable. But for me, it felt fine to do some heel striking too. But that rounded midsole underfoot feeling, combined with the faster response, I still feel it's a slightly unstable base beneath. Also, if you've got an overpronation problem, I think it's gonna be really exacerbated by the squishiness of this foam. Look at my left foot. There's a bit of mild flat foot. If you need more structure in a racing shoe, I think this might make the 6 Elite a bit of a risky choice. But personally, I'm more forgiving about stability for top-tier race day shoes. After all, these are beautiful elite runners with seriously strong muscles. Just recently at Berlin Marathon, you could see the champion Saiwei running in Adidas Evo 2. You could see he wasn't perfectly stable in the Evo 2 either. You can see Saiwei doesn't have good running technique, and you can see the Evo 2 isn't a great shoe. I wouldn't nitpick stability on top-tier race day shoes. It shouldn't have none, but just okay is enough. What really makes me pause with this shoe is the long-term durability of that Super BOOM capsule. All those underfoot sensations I've just described, the trampoline effect, the super fast response time, that energetic feeling, seems to depend more on that sprayed-on coating. And since this is a brand new tech, no company, not even the big names, has used anything like it before. We'll need time and real-world testing from runners to prove itself. Before wrapping up this video, I want to compare it with some more well-known shoes to help you better understand the Feidian 6 Elite from a ride characteristic standpoint. Let's start with the Li-Ling 5 Elite. I switched to it after a long-run session on the 6 Elite. No exaggeration. After getting used to the softness and cushioning on the 6 Elite, putting on the 5 Elite felt like I was wearing Klumpen, that traditional Dutch wooden shoe. I'd say there's much less firmness and a slightly less smooth heel-to-toe transition in the 6 Elite. That's replaced with more bounce, more squish, and more return compared to the 5 Elite. But I don't think the 6 Elite replaces the 5 Elite. They are really designed for two different kinds of runners. The 5 Elite still works better for high-cadence runners and can perform better in 5K and 10K races. The Li-Ling Feidian Ultra line has been banned for registered athletes due to its carbon plate setup, so the Elite line carries the responsibility for podium finishes. Let's compare it to those other top-tier race products you see on podiums. Quick word on the Adidas Adios Pro 4. When running both side by side, the Pro 4 clearly wins in stability, but it falls behind the 6 Elite in both energy return and response time. The Pro 4 was my favorite big brand race shoe of 2025, no contest. I bought two pairs and know it inside out. The moment I unboxed and put on the 6 Elite, I knew the Pro 4 spot in my heart was being taken over. Now, the Nike Alpha Fly. On paper, this should have some similarities. The Super Boom capsule theoretically locks air in the foam's gas cells, creating something like Nike Air. Actually, the air pods in the Alpha Fly 3 give me more of a vertical air piston bounce, while the Super Boom capsule feels more like a full-length air zoom unit, where the air seems to flow back and forth longitudinally. From an energy return perspective, the AirPods are still a league of their own, with nearly 100% return. The Super Boom capsule still can't match that. And I think the Alpha Fly 3 can provide a bit more support and work very well over a marathon for lots of different runners, whereas the 6 Elite is softer, more fun, and when you are engaging the shoe right, it's brilliant and lively. You know, the only thing I can really compare it to is the Saucony Endorphin Elite 2, which has that kind of softer feel in its midsole. But as someone who loves big, tall, squishy shoes, it pains me to see that the Endorphin Elite 2 is a little bit too soft. As I go a bit faster than threshold effort, the foam doesn't rebound quite quickly enough, and the shoe starts to feel a bit mushy. The 6 Elite, being a bit more resistant to compression, with that faster response, perfectly makes up for that shortcoming. It looks like what the next-gen Endorphin Elite should be. Lastly, as a bonus, with the release of the Feidian 6 series, the discounted price of the Feidian 5 Ultra is almost the same as the 6 Elite. Some of you guys might be torn between them. Here is my take in one sentence. If you think of the midsole foam as a car's engine and the carbon plate setup as a turbocharger, then the 6 Elite is like a new car with a bigger, more powerful engine. Even though the 5 Ultra has a fancy and functional carbon plate setup, that little bit of boost is nowhere near as exciting as the much higher energy return from the 6 Elite midsole foam. Alright, I bought this shoe for about $170. Rationally speaking, for a small channel like mine, the money should be split into 2 or even 3 parts to buy more shoes and make more videos. But I've always been interested in the innovation of running shoe tech, and I'm happy to put my own money behind the Li-Ling's genuine effective innovation here with the capsule. It's highly capable, serving up a really powerful blend of speed and cushion. I am confident we'll see more brands, even the big ones, adopting similar tech next. Let me quote and slightly modify the great moonwalker Neil Armstrong's words. That's one small step for Li-Ling. One giant leap for runners. As always, let me know in the comments if you have any questions about this shoe or tips for improving English speaking. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. I'll be bringing you more on Chinese running products. Follow if you are interested, and hope you have a good one.